Let me welcome everybody to tonight's presentation. My name is Daryl Boness, and I'm the editor-in-chief of Marine Mammal Science. This is now, I guess, the third in our series of seminars that are sponsored by the Society for Marine Mammalogy. This seminar series is called the Editors Select Seminar Series. And the reason for that is it's our board of editors who choose from papers that have been published recently in a journal issue or are online waiting to be published in an issue but available to people. So before I get started and introduce our speaker tonight, let me just kind of give you some background information. As Charles maybe mentioned, we are recording the presentation and it will become available through the Society for Marine Mammalogy website. And the paper that is the basis for tonight's talk, for those of you who don't have access to Marine Mammal Science papers normally without paying for them, the paper has been in open access all of this week and will continue to be open through the end of next week for anyone to download. And we hope you'll be excited by the talk tonight. And if you haven't gone to the paper before, you'll download it and pay further attention to it. During the presentation, if you have questions, you can queue them up in the Q&A, but preferably do not use the chat. We'll have to transfer any questions that come into the chat over to the Q&A. So please put your questions in the Q&A and we will have a question and answer session at the end of the talk. Okay, well, with that, then let me introduce our speaker tonight. And actually, Maria, I forgot to ask how we pronounce your last name, so if I get it really poorly, you can let me know. So our speaker tonight will be María José Amador Capitanachi.
Capitanachi.
Yeah, okay, thank you. So Maria has been investigating foraging habits of Mexican pinniped populations for the past 7 years. She has completed a Master's of Science degree in Marine Resource Management from the Marine Science Interdisciplinary Center, which is a research center that's part of the National Polytechnic Institute of Mexico. She's now part of an organization known as PINVEST, which is part of the Marine Science Interdisciplinary Session. And she also volunteers in the La Paz Stranding Network and the Museo de la Ballena Rescue Center, and also works as a naturalist guide. So, as I said, presentations in this seminar series are based on papers in Marine Mammal Science. Maria's talk is entitled "The Ecological Implications of Unprecedented Warm Water Anomalies on Interannual Prey Preferences and Foraging Areas of Guadalupe Fur Seals." And for those of you who pay attention and have participated in our seminar series, you'll know this is actually the second one in a row on Guadalupe Fur Seals. So they're getting a lot of attention at this point. So the paper has a fairly large number of collaborators, and I often read the names, but given the numbers, I think I won't read the names and let you take a look at the paper for yourself and find out who her collaborators are. And with that, then I think I'm just going to turn this over to Maria to begin her presentation. So Maria, you can go ahead and share your screen with the audience and begin. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let me. Okay. It worked just a few minutes ago. I don't know what is going on. Okay, here.
Okay, you got it working?
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the introduction, Daryl. And this paper, well, this talk is about the paper that we published last year. And this paper was part of my master's dissertation, and we wanted to be a talk for everyone. So I changed the name of the talk a little bit to be more friendly and less technical. So it is the impact of warm water anomalies of Guadalupe for seals on the Guadalupe for seal foraging habits. I hope that you enjoyed the talk and that at the end of it, you will love the Guadalupe for seals as much as I do. So let's go back a little bit on time to 2015. Maybe you will remember that there were all over the news in the US the presence of an unusual heat wave in the west coast of the US. And also there was a mysterious stranding event of California's lion pups. Actually, on that year in 2015, the NOAA declared an unusual mortality event for this species. And all the wildlife rescue centers of the West Coast were full of these pups with really bad body condition. So what was going on in the ocean in that moment? Everything started in 2013 in the Gulf of Alaska. Here, the ocean decreased the rate of heat loss, and so this started this warm event that was present in all the west coast of North America, as south as Baja Peninsula, as you can see here in the maps. When in 2015, the sea surface temperature anomaly was above 4 degrees average. The name of this warm anomaly was the blob. And additionally to this warm event, there was the presence of a Nino event in 2015. Okay, so these warm anomalies affects the different ocean processes, and so the food web also is affected. For example, in the California current was characterized by the presence of subtropical copepods, which are less nutritious than the subantarctic ones, which are normally the ones that inhabit these waters. So changes in the base of these, the food web, goes through it and affects top predators like the sea lions, as we saw, California sea lions, but also Guadalupe for seals. So, what is going on with the Guadalupe for seals? They were hunted to almost extinction in the late 19th century. But fortunately, the Mexican government protect them. And nowadays, well, the population is estimated in 40,000 animals. For the Mexican law, this species is still endangered, but for the IUCN, it is a species for this concern. But something that we need to have in mind is that the Guadalupe for seals only have one well-established reproductive colony, which is in Guadalupe Island, that it is here. You also can find a few animals in the north, in the Channel Islands. Also, there is an recolonization site, where you can find mostly juveniles. And pre-breeding season, you can find no more than 30 pups, which are really few. And recently, there was discovered a new hallout colony in the south part of the Gulf of California, here in Las Animas. But well, it is known that the food availability and environmental anomalies can have a negative impact on pinniped populations. So, knowing that there were these unusual warm anomalies, and now knowing this about the status of the Guadalupe form seals, we wanted to know how did climate variability between 2013 and 16 affected Guadalupe for seals foraging habits. So how did we do it? We went to Guadalupe Island, and we focused on this side of the island in Punta Sur, which is characterized by an abundance of these species. Okay, we collected stats and pups fur, and we performed scat analysis. In the scats, we can find hard structures like beaks, otolith beaks for cephalobeaks and otoliths for fish, which we identified to species or genus using specialized guides and the assistance of an expert on this regard. For this analysis, we assume that most of the scats belong to adult females. Why? Because this is the age and sex class that it is more abundant in the breeding season in this area. Also, it's important to mention that we have a short time frame, because we assume that we only have access to the last meals of the Guadalupe for seals. We also perform stable isotope analysis. So I'm going to explain to you a little bit the basics of this. First of all, we need to remember that all organisms are made of carbon and nitrogen. But we can find two versions of these atoms in nature. These are the isotopes. We have heavy isotopes, which are carbon-13 and nitrogen-15. So we have a predator that consumes their prey. So other compounds, and obviously these atoms of the prey will go to are going to be metabolized, and then will go to the tissues of the predators. So the basic compounds of this analysis is that later, when the predators will excrete, the lighter isotopes are easier to excrete. So at the end, we will have higher ratios of the heavy isotopes. But what these elements tell us about? Okay, first, nitrogen-15. It shows us information about the trophic position. What happens is kind of a reaccumulation of these isotopes through the trophic web. This means that when the higher you are in the trophic position, in the trophic level, you will have higher ratios of nitrogen-15. But I told you that we sampled pups fur. And what is the trophic level of the pups fur? Well, the pups that we sampled were from 1 to 2 months old. So we are sure that they were nursing. So the only thing that they ate or were consuming were their mother's milk. So the milk of the mother are made of the metabolism and catabolism of their food. So there is kind of a relationship of a prey predator. So we use the pups as proxies of the maternal foraging habits of the mothers. Something important here to mention is that we have a time frame of 3 to 4 months from April when the pups are not born yet, but the fur starts growing in utero, and to the end of July, that beginning of August, that is when we sample them, and now they are born and they are lactating. Okay, but also these stable isotopes can change with oceanographic processes that affected the baseline of the isotopic ratios. So there is an inverse gradient between carbon-13 and nitrogen-15. For example, if there is a predator feeding off Baja Peninsula with the same trophic level of a predator that is feeding off California, the one that with foraging grounds of California will have lower ratios of carbon-13 and nitrogen-15. And carbon-13 also has an horizontal gradient. So the animals that with feeding grounds inshore will have greater ratios of the ones that feed offshore. Okay, our results. What did we find? Additional to what I mentioned, we also generated our sea surface temperature anomaly maps because we wanted to have this anomaly for the geographic area that we were studying, and also specifically the months that we have access of the information. So as you can see, 2013 was the cooler year. Later 2014, especially from June, July, and then 2015 were the warmest years and months. And in 2016, the ocean started cooler a little bit. Okay, these are the trophic spectrum of the prey that we found in the scats. As you can see, this species, the Guadalupe for seal, is mostly a ductophagous species. And the most important prey during all the years was the jumbo squid. But with that, a slightly decrease of its consumption in 2016. In 2013, the second most important preys were hooked squids, but they didn't show up for the rest of the years. Instead of this, we have the presence of the neon-flying squid only during the warm years. We also obtained the trophic level of the Guadalupe for seals for each year. As you can see, 2013 was slightly lower than the rest of the years. And the highest trophic level was in 2015. This is really important. We are going to talk about this later again with the stable isotope analysis, so remember that. Okay, so to understand the foraging habits, we also need to understand the prey. So squids are short-lived organisms, and which are highly affected by interannual variability, especially in their abundance and distribution. So yeah, they're really strongly affected by environmental conditions like temperature. So the neon-flying squid is the first time that the neon-flying squid is presented as an important prey for this species. This is oceanic squid. So the presence of it in the trophic spectrum of the Guadalupe fossil could be explained by changes in the availability and expansion of the squid distribution, or also in changes in the Guadalupe fossil movement patterns. So here is a little summary of the Guadalupe fossil's trophic spectrum through time. Here we have that before 2013, these were the main preys that were reported as preys of the Guadalupe fossils. The preys are ordered with their importance. So the opalescent squid was one of the most important preys, which didn't show off in our study. There was the hook squids and the jumbo squid, which later in 2013 and 14 was changed to be the most important prey. And also in 2014, as we said before, it was a prince of the neon-flying squid and the glassy flying squid. So we have that Guadalupe fossils primarily display adultophagous opportunistic foraging behavior. This can be something great for them because can be advantage for when their prey availability, when there is changes in their prey availability. However, it is really important to study the impact of probably consuming less nutritious prey. So we really suggest that it's an aspect that should be explored further. Why? Because, for example, there are some studies in the California sea lions that mention that the adult females consume primarily Pacific sardines and anchovies in the 90s, but there was a decrease on their population around San Miguel Island, where these studies were made. And so then they started consuming all these species: rockfish, Pacific hake, opalescent squid, and red octopus, which are less nutritious for them. As a consequence, also the pups have not good body condition, and sometimes they end up stranding. So these are the results for the stable isotope analysis. Here in the y-axis we have the nitrogen 15, and the x-axis we have the carbon 13. Also we have ellipses and polygons. The polygons represent all the data that we have for each year. We have one polygon per year. And also each polygon has one ellipse. The ellipse represents all the data that have a higher credibility. Okay, so let's go back a little bit and let's remember the trophic level that we obtained with the Skype analysis. So 2013 was slightly lower than the rest of the years. So in base on what I told you about the isotopes, we will have expected that it will have the lower nitrogen 15 ratios, or at least the same. In contrast, we found that 2013, as you can see here, presented the highest nitrogen 15 ratios. So in the 1 year presented lower ratios. So we think that the behavior of these data represent changes in the Guadalupe fossil movement patterns to more northern areas, to higher latitudes. Also, we can see that with the carbon 13, but let's remember that also this can show us that the Guadalupe fossil fed in more oceanic areas too. So backing the hypothesis that the fossils may be fed in northern areas, we found in the literature that in the summer and fall from the end of 2013 to 2015, there was the presence of primary productivity in the central and north of California, as well as upwelling. So this could have been the foraging grounds of the Guadalupe fossils during the warm years. And we based this in some feeding or foraging grounds that we detected in my other part of my master's dissertation, that basing this in animals that were satellite tagged. Okay, so let's go back a little bit to the isotopic results. Now we are going to focus in the ellipse and polygons areas. A larger area would represent a higher input of different isotopic values. As you can see here, 2015 presented the highest areas for ellipses and polygons. So this could be related with the increase in the foraging effort of the adult females exploring or exploiting areas with different isotopic ratios in their baseline. Okay, so the same was reported for animals from San Benito Archipelago, where the Guadalupe fossils for a niche or areas were 3 times wider in 2015 than it was in 2014. Okay, so these increase in foraging efforts of pinnipeds have been reported before in several studies using satellite telemetry. So we base on this to have these hypotheses. So what were the ecological consequences of these warm anomalies in the Guadalupe fossils? We reported recently that there was a relationship between the mass or the weight of the pups and the sea surface temperature anomaly, and increased relationships. So the higher the anomaly it is, the less that the pups weighted. Also, in 2015, there was an increase in the pups mortality, where the main reason of death was starvation. Also, it was declared an unusual mortality event by the NOAA in 2015. But something really important, and I want to point out, is that these unusual mortality events continue in California, and it is increasing in Washington and Oregon. So, what is the summary of this study? Yes, we found interannual foraging variations driven by the warm anomalies. The prey that they consumed most were the jumbo squid and the second most, the neon-flying squid, being this the first time that is an important prey for this species. And this could be reflect more northerly and or oceanic foraging areas of the fossils. And we suggest to continue studying the foraging habits of this species, especially because it is expected to these warm anomalies to be more often. And also we highly suggest to also have the sample, the models for not only the pups. And we also suggest to continue satellite tagging the Guadalupe for seals to have more information about the foraging areas. Okay, so thank you so much for staying here. And I want to say thanks to all these organizations, because without them, this study wouldn't have been possible. But especially I want to highlight and say thank you to all the students that helped to collect the samples. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Maria. Daryl's just having a little problem with his screen. But I'm here. Hi, everybody. Okay, now, if anyone, thank you for that amazing presentation. I learned a lot and about how much the squid are important to their diet. That's really amazing. Now we're ready for questions for our presenters. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them into the Q&A. And to our attendees on Facebook, you can comment them there and we'll be reading them out. So if anyone has any questions for now, please jump in. Well, I'll start. Actually, I have a question about where do you plan to take this research in the future? Are you still working with the same fur seals, and are you planning on pursuing some of those goals you outlined at the end?
Well, we still are working in the project, and we do have tagged more for seals, and we also have samples of furs, whiskers, and of adults, of larger animals, but we don't have samples for the mothers when they are nursing, because they we don't want to have a lot of sorry, we don't want to disturb a lot in the colony when the pups are really young. So, but yeah, we are continue working on it.
Excellent. Okay. Well, we have a question here. I'll read it out. So I would be curious to hear, and this is from one of the hosts, I would be curious to hear about other ecological pressures in the area that might exacerbate impacts of environmental change. Is there overlap with fisheries, commercial, subsistence, or other? So what other ecological and anthropogenic pressures might be impacting those environmental changes affecting the seals?
Yeah, well, the most important threat is the environment, global warming, these warm anomalies. With fisheries, there are not a lot of interaction. We've seen really few animals that are hooked, and I think that one or two that were entangled, but the ratios are really, really low. So the main threat is the warm anomalies. Also, Guadalupe Island is a protected area, and only if you have special permits you can go there. So there is not a lot of anthropogenic pressure or something like that. And also it is really good regulated, I would say proudly, and also highlight to the CONAMP, that is the part of the government that is protecting that area, is doing an excellent job. And so it is going well for them, I think. Well, the protection of the government for them.
That's good to hear, because I know the coast of Mexico is quite large, and protecting the marine mammals there has to be really complicated across both the Pacific and Gulf and Caribbean coasts.
Yeah, also Guadalupe Island is really far from land, so it's not normal like a lot of boats or people go there. It is hard to get there too.
Good for the seals, I guess. Okay, we have another question here. How do you know, an anonymous one, how do you know if one prey is more nutritious than the others for the mothers? So I guess they're asking, how do you know which prey is more, if there's a higher nutritional prey that the mothers would target and that the mothers prefer? I think that's what they're getting at.
Yeah, okay, so for that, there are special studies for that. We haven't done it. We suggest to do it, but what it does is you measure the calories in and fat in the prey. That's what I know about it, but I haven't done it.
Thank you for that answer. We have another question here from Louis Huckstat. Sorry if I'm messing that up. Are the fur seals falling prey to great white sharks? Do you see a lot of animals with scars that could have survived shark attacks?
Yeah, we haven't seen a few of them, but especially I forgot the name of this shark. The cigarette shark, the one that is a small bite in like a circle.
Cookie cutter shark?
The cookie cutter shark, yeah. That is the ones that we've seen the most. And yeah, a few of them have shark bites, but it's also a low number of animals. Nothing like to be worried about it or something like that. Most of the sharks that are there in Guadalupe Island are fed mostly of elephant seals. Yeah.
So they're safe from the sharks mainly, but those cookie cutter sharks, do you know, a question off that, do you ever find any mortalities related to cookie cutter sharks possibly? Because I know sometimes they can be pretty vicious bites that a cookie cutter shark can take out of an animal, just a big ball-like chunk. And I was wondering if you ever see anything of that kind.
Yeah, no, I haven't. We haven't reported that. Just few bites, but not that much. I have seen. I think that the worst animal that I have seen with cookie cutter bites is female, elephant seal female. That all her body was full of cookie cutter sharks. It was terrible. But for Guadalupe seals, it's just like one or two. And they actually, their body condition looked great.
Thank you. All right. We got a couple more questions coming in here. This one's from Andre Ortega. Do you think there will be another breeding colony in the future in addition to Guadalupe?
I hope so. Well, we've been waiting for San Benito Archipelago to become a breeding colony, but we don't know what is going on there. Well, with most of the animals are juveniles that they stay there, so maybe the next one hopefully will be San Benito Archipelago. But it's something good is that they are spreading. Like also they want that the juveniles are the ones that are spreading a lot. The halal colony that was recently discovered in the south part of the Gulf, the Las Animas, also they were mainly juveniles, so not future reproductive colonies soon.
Hopefully in the future.
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay, another question here from María del Mar Cortijo. Have they looked at diets affecting the fur seals' diving physiology and reproduction? So how does their diet affect fur seal diving and physiology?
No, we haven't done anything with it. Well, we are not doing a lot of physiology. And yeah, no.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's as good as answering anything. We don't know.
We don't know. It's a good question, man. Maybe we can have a one project like that.
Okay, we have one more question here now from Christian C. What ecological implications do the interannual variations of sea lion populations have in other predators? Maybe they're talking about the fur seal.
Okay. Maybe they're talking about other pinniped species, or
Yeah. Well, I guess if we go off of that, so are there a lot of interannual variation in Guadalupe fur seals? I guess, yeah, probably we don't know the answer because it has to do with their predators. You just kind of answered that.
yeah, I can understand the question. He means like Guadalupe fur seals predators, or
I'm not sure. Christian C, if you want to re-ask your question, we'll be happy to answer.
please.
So Eric, I can jump in here now. Maria, I apologize. I have had some technical difficulties, and I could hear you talking, but your slides froze up. I couldn't unmute. So I'm going to kind of ask you some questions based on reading your paper rather than everything you presented. So apologies for this, but so have you done studies beyond the foraging studies and the isotope work? Have you looked at other aspects of, say, behavioral aspects like maternal foraging trips and things like this to see what kind of impacts you're seeing from these warm water anomalies?
During the warm anomalies, we only did the isotope analysis and the scats, but later, further in 2017, we went back and we satellite some animals. Well, the results were amazing because we know that they can move a lot. They can move further, really far. So, for example, the farthest location that we reported was almost 2,000 kilometers far away, Guadalupe Island, with straight line. So, yeah, I think that these warm anomalies, yeah, it affected the pups because the results are there about other studies. But yeah, the moms are capable to move a lot, and also well, it is very important to continue studying all of these to see how these, for example, these anomalies affected the population, that if it is growing, because we will notice the difference in the population once this cohort is growing and grows, and then it reproduces, right? So I think that we will see.
Okay, great. So you will be continuing these studies into the future. So one question, if I recall, you said your pups, when you sampled them, were 3 months old. Is that correct?
Months old. From 1 to 2 months old.
1 to 2 months. Okay. And what's lactation length in these guys? Is it close to a year?
It's 9 months, around 9 months.
9 months. And
oh, sorry.
I was just, I know in some species, pups will in fact do some limited feeding around the study area, around the breeding grounds. but probably not in that first month or two. So you are fairly confident that you're not getting any kind of feeding, but did you do any kind of checking to assess that? Is there a way in which you could do that, or taking stomach samples from pups or anything like that?
Yeah, well, no, we haven't taken stomach samples for pups, but we are completely sure that they, in that stage, when they are from 1 to 2 months old, they haven't started trying to feed by their own. They started doing that later. We base this especially because some of my collaborators that they work in the lab, they have spent long times there, and the pups are they are not even going far in the water. They are just in the pool tides, and they are not feeding. They are just waiting for the moms. They are starting to explore a little bit, but not that much.
Okay, thank you. I see we have some additional questions coming in from the audience, so maybe I'll turn it back over, Eric, if you have questions here you want to ask from the audience.
Sounds good. I'll read off the next couple of questions. Anonymous question. With regard to the Isla San Benito's population, do you suspect they have relocated due to foraging pressures created by these warm water pressures, or is their absence to decline in their is their absence due to a decline in their numbers? At one point 10 years ago, we were seeing hundreds in late February to March.
Okay, in San Benito Archipelago, we know that they fed mostly before the warm anomalies, they fed mostly from opales and squid. In contrast, that exactly in 2013, that in contrast to Guadalupe Island, they fed from jumbo squid. And yeah, there is a decline in the population from San Benito Archipelago. Especially after the warm events, the population declined around 50% or something like that, and it haven't recovered. The numbers have not recovered yet. We have the isotope analysis for that moment, for that time, and is that they also presented a higher invest in their foraging grounds, but the trophic spectrum for San Benito Archipelago, they are still in the laboratory. We haven't processed them yet.
Thank you for that answer. Okay, next question here. Hello, have you looked into young Guadalupe fur seals moving locations due to competition with adults? How would this affect the species as a whole? So are the adults causing the young fur seals to move and outcompeting them somehow?
Okay, well, we tagged some young fur seals when they win, and yeah, they can move too. They can really go far north to Channel Island area. The juveniles, they also move a lot. They go a lot to the north, but also to south, to the south part of Baja Peninsula. But I don't think that it will be like kind of a competition with the adults. Yeah, I mean, like the adults, they mostly they can, like, they know their foraging areas, and sometimes they go back there. But yeah, the juveniles are exploring all over, and also the number of the species is low. It's not that the capability of the environment is it can support more Guadalupe for seals. Before they were hunted to almost extinction, it's been calculated that they were around 200 animals, and now it is estimated in 40,000. So yeah, I don't think that there will be like a competition between young Guadalupe for seals and adults that is doing something with that has something to do with the growing of or the recovering of the species.
Thanks. Good for the young seals. Last one here is not a question, just a comment to say that this was a great talk and great job answering all the tough questions.
Thank you.
So Maria, if you don't mind, I'll ask a couple more questions. You do have a little bit of time here left. You sample pups to represent females. Is there a reason you didn't sample females directly or adults? Is it too difficult to get samples from them, or?
Yeah, there are few reasons why we didn't get the samples for the mothers. First, it is harder to get the mom samples, and with also, especially with logistics. And also, if we sample moms, we will have a lower number of samples. So we prefer to have a higher number of samples. And also, as I mentioned before, this is a protected area. The government is doing a really good job protecting them. So for the permits, they are really I don't know exactly what I don't want to say picky, but this is the first word that came to my mind. I think it is good. I mean, when we don't want to disturb, they don't want us to disturb a lot the colonies, which we clearly understand that. We don't want that either. And when we catch larger animals than females, the colony is a mess. Everyone's goes, the disturbs is higher. So that's why we prefer to do it with the pups. But we suggest in the future to have some samples for the adult females.
So in sampling pups, then you're able to get in and collect those samples without disturbing larger numbers? Yeah,
the pups are, when you get to a colony, the pups are all sleeping around and they are just playing next to the pool tides. And also something important to mention is that, well, the mothers, they are not always with the pups because they go out to the sea, they do their foraging trips and everything. So then the pups gets together, and we call them like kinders. They are all together, and we go with those. Mostly of the time we go to those pups, like the ones that are by themselves alone there. And otherwise, we will have to go farther in the colony and make the adults to flush. And also, well, it can happen that some pups die because of trauma, because of the adult females can, or the males can stop and hit them or something like that. So the pups that we sample mostly are the ones that the moms are not with them too. So we don't want to interrupt their lactation, because the moms can go off the colony for 2 weeks and they come back, and I mean, like the pups must be really hungry, starving. So yeah, also we don't want to interrupt their lactation.
Okay. We may have some additional questions from the audience. Let's see here. Yeah. Let's see. Eric, have you?
I can jump in. I see one in the chat right here.
Yeah. Okay. If you want.
So Maria, as you mentioned, there are certain biases related to each diet technique you used. Are you thinking about incorporating other dietary analyses, DNA, etc., or other techniques that can help complete our understanding of how environment drives these changes?
It will be amazing. Something that will be great to do is scatology. I think it is that when you take, you need a fresh scat, and then you take a sample for them, you do genetics, and then you can know more, or most of the, not most of the prey, but more prey that they consume, that they are not just squids and fish, because the only access that we have is the hard structures that remain there. So it will be amazing if we can do that, and also that maybe can show us a little bit more about the isotopes, because with isotopes we don't know exactly. We know it's more or less like the trophic level and everything, but we don't know exactly what they are eating. So it will be an amazing complement. Yeah.
Agreed. You must really want to know what they're eating besides the squid that you absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we don't have any more questions from the audience. I'll just sort of finish up with one final question and ask you sort of your directions for the future. Continuing with Guadalupe fur seals, are you planning on doing any studies with some of the other pinnipeds, California sea lions or elephant seals in Guadalupe Island?
I don't know. I hope that I can. I'm taking a little break of a little bit of science right now, but I hope to go back. And yeah, I would love to continue studying. There is a lot of stuff to study, and every time that we go there and sample, or we have the results of something, we have more and more and more and more questions. So yeah, it will be amazing. It's
Great.
I'm deciding. But
excellent. Well, thank you for an excellent talk. You know what? I see one question possibly. No, it was a thank you for an excellent talk and discussion. Well, perhaps with that, we will say thank you and finishing up right on time. We look forward to perhaps some future papers in Marine Mammal Science. Maria, thank you very much. Everyone will see people hopefully next month. I'm not sure yet what our seminar is, but keep your eye out on the Society for Marine Mammalogy website for an announcement on the next month's seminar. Maria, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we will sign off.
Everyone, a great night.
Thank you.